Kia ora. Greetings from New Zealand. I hope this message finds you well. This message was, or this video was inspired by 16-year-old Greta Thunberg. If you don't know who she is, she's a 16-year-old climate activist who has done a bunch of speeches and really moved me. If you haven't heard of her, click off. I'll chuck in a link below or something, and go have a listen to what she has to say. And her words hit me smack bang in the middle of my thought, my heart, and everything. You know, it's the most truth that I've ever heard from any human being ever about our current state of affairs as a planet, as a society. And for me, she really, I guess, made me start thinking. She brought me back to like right now, and to put everything into perspective as to if we keep going like we're going, there will be no future. You know. And yeah, just like so I want to thank you, Greta. Thank you so much. You are inspiration to me, and I hope to many other people who want to change things, you know. But I'd like to add on to that, if I may. She's 16, I'm 28, born in 1990, so I've just been around a bit longer. And I've seen more things, 90s baby, yeah. And I feel something I'd like to share with even kids and teenagers and adults, and yeah, of the past, present and future. A timeless message. For me, in my life, you know, I realized that the society that she was describing, I was part of. We're all part of that, and I'm part of the problem for following exactly, you know, what I've been shown and what I've been taught, and just follow the crowd and stuff like that. It's been a bit tough, you know, to realize that I'm part of the problem, and I'm a human, and this is our planet, you know. And I think for me personally in my life, and for kids, you know, coming out of school, debt, man, making debt, you know, ending this cycle of debt is something that we should really look into. Because for me, you know, I was taught, well, I wasn't taught, I was just shown, you know, I mean, in New Zealand it's real easy to make debt, and the wage over here is pretty, the minimum wage over here is pretty alright, you know, when you're a youngster, a bit of pocket change and stuff like that. But no one told me when I was making debt, no one taught me that what I'm actually doing is I'm taking away from my future happiness to put into my now. You know, I'm basically just stealing future. And what I mean by that is that when you go make a loan or something, you get charged something called interest, you know, so they charge you for lending you money. Basically, banks, people who loan out money and stuff like that, and what happen? And for this taken from your future thing, what happens is what I found. You know, I bought a few things. I racked up some debt right now. Excuse me. 2019. You know, after my second back surgery and depression and anxiety and stuff caused by a whole lot of probably why the world's not making sense, or why my life doesn't make sense. I racked up some debt, you know what I mean, and only after listening to Greta's thing and thinking, you know, how have I not realized, you know, how come I haven't done like my bit, you know, realized that every time I'd buy something shiny new and rack up debt for it, I'd be really happy, you know. I mean, I had Audis and V-dubs and, you know, TVs and all whatever, you know, everyone buys different things. But when the novelty wears off, when the excitement wears off on what it is you've purchased, you are now enslaved to paying that off, you know. And for you kids coming through, I'd advise don't make any debt. Don't just break this cycle, you know, because it makes you go from happy to stressed. If you don't know what stress means, how I perceive stress is that when you're in a happy state and you start declining, you inside you start declining and you don't know why, and inside you can't stop it because, well, you're now enslaved to it, your debt now that you owe. And then you start working your 40-hour week, and then because you're not really getting anywhere, you make more debt to pay for your other debt, and you do consolidation loans, which means you just take all your debt and you go to a bank and say, hey, can you help me out? And they pay off your loan. But then in the long run, if you keep doing that, you're just taking more and more from your future to pay into your now. And why is this cycle important to stop? Because for those of you that haven't been around, and for those of you that have, I'd like to hear your words on this. How this cycle works is that we have now a massive world debt. So if you can imagine every single person doing this, right, making debt for themselves, contributes to our global debt, right? And then the people who are at the top of the food chains, the banks and the governments and these massive corporations and stuff, they're all right, they're making money off the debt that's being made, and which is all good. They've figured out a way to use money, I guess, and mix and match it around. But our world debts are getting larger and larger and larger. And our current leaders and our world leaders and stuff, they aren't doing anything to prevent that. They just keep making more plans to go down the same path. They don't actually change anything, So in essence, what's happening is that the people who are getting richer and richer now are just taking money from the future so that they can build for their future generations. And I don't understand why we can't just fix every generation right now. We've got a whole bunch of generations just living all at the same time. And the only thing that's going to happen if we continue this cycle is that it's going to be refined. The guys are making massive amounts of money now, and I'm not begrudging anyone if you've made money, all good. I'm broke as at the moment, no job after back surgery, so hey, I guess I got to figure my life out. But what's going to happen is they're going to build generational wealth, and they'll just teach their kids the same way that they made their money, which is the same system that isn't working, and it all starts back to the making debt thing, and if you can break the cycle of making debt, if you can be debt free your whole life, man, you'll live a free life. That's debt free. You owe no one anything. And then on a bigger scale of things, people, when they get into debt, they start going from stressed, so that uneasy, that dis-ease feeling that you feel when you're declining and you feel there's nothing you can do about it. You start living in fear, right? And now another bigger scale of fear, so if you zoom out quite a bit, look globally, right? Everyone lives in fear. They're living in paycheck to paycheck, and we have, people celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas where their kids getting presents and they're happy and stuff, and then there are kids in the world that do not have. To me that's a bit of imbalance, and I feel that this fear of not having or not being able to change your life individually and then as a collective, as a whole, as a human race, I feel that fear leads to sadness and acts that humans do that, like, for example, in New Zealand, we had a terrorist attack, Christchurch. My heart goes out to you guys. I think it's Scarf Day today, Friday 22nd, is it? Yeah. Heart goes out to you guys, and I'm so proud to be New Zealand. I come from South Africa, but I'm so proud to be a Kiwi, man. I tell you, New Zealand doesn't get sad much at all, except if the All Blacks lose. No one cares about the Warriors. That's a whole nother story. But I'm so proud of being a part of this country in the fact that we, while we were consoling the Muslim community, we were actually, and ourselves, it was like, we were disappointed that kind of happened on our soil, because we're real chill. We got no problems over here. We have not much problems over here. It's a real peaceful country. And so proud that, we banded together in such an act of terrorism. Someone did a terrible thing and tried to incite more fear in our country. And I'm so glad that we stood together. You know, we have biker gangs, and you know, we've got Mongrel Mob and Black Power and whoever else, you know, is all banding together. You know, we've put all our beliefs and all our stuff aside, and we've all actually stood together, and I'm so proud. And to Jacinta Ardern, wow, what a PM. You know, I've never voted, I'd never ever believed in politics, but that what she did, how she's acted, made me seriously believe in politics again. So you have my vote, Jacinta. You inspired me just like this girl to make change, you know. And so with this whole fear thing, you know, it escalates from little bits like that because that guy who did it, let's role play, this isn't factual, this is just a timeline, a potential. Someone who is happy then gets into that stress state, then goes into that sad state, then that depressed state, then that fear state. And then when they're in a fear state, they do terrible things and they incite more fear. So, and I mean, there's many ways to look at where fear comes from, but for me in my life, I mean, I could only put it down to, you know, if it was me going down that path, I put a lot of my sadness to not knowing too much about life or not being shown the right way. And I mean, it's no one's duty to show you life. Life's just, you come, you come in as a human and you live your life, you know. But little did I know when I was born, the people and the forefathers and things that went ahead of me, they never laid the right bricks on the yellow brick road. It never really, for future, it didn't accommodate for future generations, you know. I mean, adults and things of today, everyone under 18. I mean, let's have a look at this thing, bro. Bro, that's a big ass fly, bro. Shit. See the size of that thing? Everyone under 18. You know, they how can they be responsible for all of this, you know? And all of us who have contributed to this world debt, we're society as a whole, the system itself has failed, you know? And continuing the cycles, you know, I mean, I've seen continuing these cycles, I can foresee that, you know, after we're gone, what's going to be left for the future generations, you know? You got the SpaceX program, you know, Elon Musk, just one example. I mean, how many millions and millions of dollars, and even on the governments, on war, spending money on weapons, you know, the elites, the world leaders, spending money that could be used for food and water and electricity and housing. They use to build massive armies to show who's stronger and who's got power. And that's food coming out of our future generations' mouths. That's the future of that's kids that haven't been born yet. With our world leaders doing that, what future are we leaving for them? We're literally just stealing money from the future and calling it debt. The thing is that people have been asking, who do we owe all this money to? Well, we owe it to the future. We've stolen it from them. We've seriously, like, I'm part of the problem. I fell into the cycle, man, you know? And I guess now I have to figure out a new way of living, you know? 60 grand in debt and no job. I have to figure it out, you know? I have to figure it out, and that's life. And that's life, you know? But we don't have good examples. We've got people in power that do not care about the future. They care about making money. And that's a whole nother video. Everyone over 18, probably people 16 and over. Kids are quite smart these days. You guys know what all the problems are. And then because we live in a state of fear, we feel we can't do anything, you know? And individually, yeah, we probably can't do anything because the people that control everything, they don't want to do anything. They want to keep the same patterns going. And it's not going to serve us well. I mean, how much money was spent on SpaceX? How much poverty could have been solved in housing? my heart breaks for America, man. The United States, growing up, man, I used to want to go there all the time, bro, because I heard it was the greatest country in the world. Compare that to South Africa where I grew up, it looked amazing, you know. And I look at it now, and there's just homeless people and racism. You got the oppressors making the oppressed feel guilty for being oppressed. It's a really big scale of narcissism, you know, and and then taught hatred over generations. When are we gonna stop? When are we gonna make change? When is enough gonna be enough? When are world leaders gonna be accountable? You know, and I'm not saying put their heads on the chopping block, but if they're the smart ones, if we have a 16-year-old girl who could take the wind out of my sails with one speech, she's 16, bro, 16, and she makes so much sense. Voices like that need to be heard, you know, minds like that. She needs to be running climate change groups. She's got the vision, she's got the idea, but we've got all these leaders. They're not leaders. They're not leaders. Why? Because they're not examples. They do not lead by example. It's a blame game, you know. It's a blame game, and we can't pinpoint where, when it started, who it started with, what country, when. Oppression and narcissism and ill practices and making people feel guilty for things they're not even guilty of because it was your plan. That started thousands of years ago. So I guess as a society we just need to be better, you know. I'm changing my life, trying to live more peacefully in a world where there's not much love, you know. I'm practicing loving myself. I know some other videos here are quite out there, but that's my spiritual journey. It was this, you know, that's my own self-love journey, and, you know, to some people it might sound out there, but there are millions of people who know what I'm talking about on those things, and I'm speaking to them. But now as a human race, this is, it's troubling, but, you know, what can we do? We can change it, you know. We can teach our kids not to do what we did, because it doesn't work. And if you're watching this and you think that our society works, dude, look around you. Look at the news. Look at all the crime. Look at all the fear. Look at all the poverty. Look at all the drought-stricken places. Look at the people who don't have. How did we get from being one world to a first world and a third world? Who labeled it that? When did we segregate from being humanity? You know, where's the compassion? We've traded trust and honesty with deceit and lies. We've traded compassion and passion for rage and hatred. And this is just the world we live in, and I'm part of it. I'm here, you know. My ticket, I don't know when I'm gonna die, you know. I don't know when my number's gonna be up, but you know, I'm going to try and make a change, you know. Hopefully this video, I don't know, I'd love people to maybe take it and what I'm trying to say here. If you can, I'm not trying to start an argument with anyone. I don't argue, this is just my thought on my worldview, on my 28 years, from my reality, what I've seen, what I've read. And I used to read everything. I used to be obsessed with knowing everything. I used to like arguing with people because I used to like being right. That's wrong too. Everyone has a version of truth, you know, and everyone's got a worldview and a vision and feelings, you know, and that's what I feel, where the world lives in so much fear that we don't have feelings anymore. Our feelings, there's no one to listen to how we feel, and every time, this is still a narcissistic thing, or narcissistic society, when you feel something, and someone's actually done wrong to you, and you approach them for it, they make you feel bad for them making you feel bad, and they tell you, oh, no one can make you feel like that. And then you think to yourself, but the transaction works like this. If you never opened your mouth, or if you never did what you did, I wouldn't feel like this. Now that I'm calling you out, or I'm asking you what the hell went wrong, you're blaming me for feeling how you made me feel, and then you're telling me to take responsibility for your bit of how you made me feel. I mean, it's not a way to teach the kids, man. You know, we need to be leaders. We need to step up. We need to be examples. We need to do something. You know, I'm one dude, man. I can sit and think about solutions and things like that. But now, actually, two people that I know of, two people about this topic or this view. There's many people doing wonderful things out there. Keep doing it, man. Keep doing it. You guys are being inspirations. But it's our leaders that are letting us down. If you want to see what a leader looks like, in my opinion, NZ Prime Minister. Have a look at her. Have a yarn to her. You know? Ask the people what they think need to be changed. Ask the people for once. Take their opinions into account. Take their opinions into account, because they're the people you're supposed to be governing to a peaceful, prosperous future. But it's not the case. It's not the case. It's a game of egos and blame. And unfortunately, the biggest egos are right at the top, and they refuse to take blame. So, 2019 is a timeless message, man. Anyone who finds this message in the future, I hope things would have changed. I hope things would have started getting better. The world would start practicing empathy and compassion and love. First for themselves, you know. And if you look at it individually, first give that to yourself, because if your cup's empty, you won't be able to give that to someone else. That's another version of debt. You'll be giving something away that you don't have, and it'll make you unhappy. So learn to love yourself. Learn to practice empathy and compassion and acceptance of yourself. If we each individually did that, I think the world could change slightly. I think we could start being better examples. You know, take your, what is it? Take your bit of the responsibility as being part of this society, and then let us see how we can change it. Worth a go, I feel, because at this rate, my great-grandkids are going to have nothing. That's not a future to look forward to, not even for me. And I'm a pretty positive dude, you know, so thanks for your time. Peace, love and light to you all, and I hope this message finds you well. Peace.